Hi all, welcome to this second video. In this video, we'll talk about header file, implementation files, and main.c++ files. So from the third assignment onwards, you will be writing the class definition, like how a class should look like, what are the member variables, what are the functions or member functions, and their return types, and how the functions should look like, all the details into a separate file called a .h file called as header file. So you will be writing every class in its own header file. So that's one file. We'll be just saying that what a class should look like, what is the blueprint of the class. And then other than main.c++ file, we'll be creating a separate file for every header file. This file is called as implementation file. So for example, here is the UML class diagram for the class vehicle. If you see, this class vehicle has 4 member variables. All of them are in private scope. And then there are a bunch of functions. All the functions are in public scope. So what I did is, like, for this class, whatever the vehicle, I have written a separate header file called vehicle.h. So this is how the vehicle.h file is going to look like. So from here on, from every header file that you are going to write for each and every class that's there, you will be adding or seeing these 2 lines at the beginning of the header file and this line in addition to the end of the header file. So what these command means are, these are called as include guards. So if and if, define, and then end if, all these are called as include guards. What they are doing is that when I'll include this header file, like whatever the header file into my main program or other programs like implementation files.cpp, etc., how do we make sure that the class vehicle is defined only once and not multiple times? So defining a class multiple times may confuse the compiler. So to avoid this, what we are telling is that if n for not, so if not defined, so if there is no definition of vehicle underscore h, then define vehicle underscore h. So the way I'm defining vehicle underscore h is that it should contain all these, or this is how the class should look like. So if you read this line, and if you, I've also added a reference to a Stack Overflow discussion, which is very helpful. Please go through it. So what we are doing is that to avoid multiple implementations of vehicle.h and multiple imports of vehicle.h and subsequent issues, we are saying that if you do not find this definition, vehicle underscore h, then I'm defining it here. And this is the definition of vehicle underscore h should be. And right after defining the class, I'm adding this and if. So think of this like if. So we are starting an if condition, and the way we are ending the if condition is through hash and if. So we said if you don't see a class definition, we are creating this for you. So the point is that when we are trying to include hash include vehicle.h, hash include vehicle.h multiple times, this kind of will make sure that our code doesn't break. And it's kind of there to help us in ensuring that the code compiles successfully, even though if you are importing a class multiple times. So if you see, this is to basically prevent the double declarations of any identifier such as types. So class is a type here. So we are defining a type and I'm preventing it. Enums is for enumerators and static variables. So anything duplication, we are preventing it through these include guards. So get adjusted to this. Any header file that you see from here on, it will contain a class definition, and every class definition is enclosed in these header guards, if and def, define and end if. Now, every header file just has the class name, member variables, and function prototypes. It is our responsibility to write uh, the function definitions. So I'll quickly show the vehicle class. Um, so if you see, I have vehicle, if and def, vehicle, and so on, and end if here. And what I'm doing is, from here on, instead of writing all the class function definitions inside main.c++, I created a separate C++ file. If you see, as a programming convention, I'm saying that whatever this C++ file is, this corresponds to vehicle.h. So the way I'm telling is I'm renaming it, or I'm naming it as per the convention, like what is the class name and what am I doing here? I'm implementing the functions. So vehicle imp.cpp. This is the same thing that you will be applying in assignment 3 as well, where you are provided with header files and you are supposed to write implementation files. Now, the way we used to write a constructor, anything that we are writing outside the class definition, we have to include the class name followed by the scope resolution operator. So this is to tell that this constructor belongs to this class. It is under the scope of this class. And remember the way we started writing constructors in the last class? Constructors give all the arguments that a constructor takes, and you can use the colon and give like variable value, variable value, variable value. So try to make this a habit. In this way, you can write pretty much a constructor in a single line, and you can avoid writing like 4 or more lines for, where you do this of name equal to name like that. So get adjusted with this style of writing constructors. And also the setters, you can do this way. If the function name is void set name, make sure that you add the class name followed by the scope resolution operator to say that this function belongs to this class. And you can pretty much write all the setters and getters in a single line. So you can write these functions in this way. And sometimes just be careful, do not give a semicolon after the closing curly brace after the functions. If I remember correctly, CodeGrade may throw an error or a warning for this, and the clang tidy part may fail. So just make sure that. And yeah, pretty much whatever the functions are there, vehicle.h class prototype, I'm defining all of them in this file called vehicle imp.c++. So you see all the functions and their definitions, like what these functions are doing. And sometimes what people will do is they'll combine all the set functions into one function, and they like a set function that looks like a constructor. So the same thing was given to you on assignment 3. Yeah. So if you see student details, where is, okay, not in this class, maybe somewhere. Yeah. Here is a function. I think this function was missed in the yeah, this function was missed here in the class diagram. I'll see if this can be corrected. But if you see, there is a set function, and instead of writing a set function separately for every variable, we are writing one set function for all the variables. So it's common. Sometimes you see a set function, one set function being written for all, or a separate set function for every member variable. So either of them mean the same thing. It's the same code. And from here on, you'll see a print function. A print function in every class is used to print like what are the details of that object. For example, what is the first name, last name, birth year, and enrolled. Think of this as something similar to the display resources function that you have used in assignment 2. So every class will have constructors, setters, getters, and a display function or a print function. So that's the style. So all the details of the class implementation, I have it in the vehicle.imp.c++. Now, what did I do in main? In the main file or main function, all I did is like I have imported the vehicle.h. And by the way, we'll import the vehicle.h here as well. Else, the compiler doesn't know what this term vehicle means. So if I remove it, the compiler say that what is this vehicle? So to tell the compiler that this vehicle is vehicle.h, I have to include that. And I'm also including vehicle here so that I can go ahead and create an object of vehicle type. So I'm creating an object of vehicle type car car, and car is a name. For number of seats is 4, max speed is 100, and fuel is required. And I have the print details part here. So all these three put together in one place. Now I'll show you quickly what happens if we remove these include guards. So let me comment these real quick, and I'll show you the problem. So by mistake or through some error, if I am importing this header file multiple times, then as soon as I add the second import, you can see an error coming up. It says that redefinition of vehicle class. Okay, that means the compiler is finding two definitions for vehicle. One is coming from the first include, and the second one is coming from the second include. So as a result, the compiler will throw an error. But if we include this header guard, yeah, if we include the header guard, you can see that the error is not popping up. So that means if by mistake, if I'm including a header file more than once, by including these guards, any compilation errors because of importing a header file multiple times, then the compiler will be able to handle it, and it will treat these as duplicates, and it won't create any errors. So, but the moment I remove these header guards, it's going to be an error. Yeah. So you can see the error coming, and save and the error won't show up this time. So these header guards are useful in this way. And now that we know that vehicle.h includes the header class definition, and then there's an implementation file where we will write all the function definitions. And then lastly, we have something called as main.c++, where we are simply including the header file and we are creating objects and playing around with it. Now, how do we compile in this instance? So we need main.c++ file. We need vehicle implementation.c++, both the files, because any function, so like for example, inside the main function, I'm using print details. Where did I define? What does print details should do, or what is the job of this function? Where did I define that? I defined it in vehicle implementation.cpp. So both these C++ files are required to compile the program. And -o followed by output execute we will be running. So in this case, the way I compile the code is G++, just a second, yeah, main.cpp, vehicle implementation.cpp, and -o, and I can call this anything actually, vehicle imp.o for instance, and the program compiles successfully, /vehicle imp.o. If I run it, you can see that I've created an object called car with name as car, number of seats as 4, max speed as 100, and whether fuel required is or not, yes. So in this way, you can compile multiple programs together, and you'll be seeing this pretty much in assignment 3, where we'll be writing the definition of student details. Like, let me show you. So this is assignment 3 for you. And in assignment 3, you were already given student type.h, student details.h, file handler.h, and calculator.h. There are 4 classes that you will be writing: calculator, file handler, student details, and student type. So all these class definitions were given to you. Something that is missing is the implementation part. Okay, you have to implement it. That means you have to create 4 C++ files: calculator imp.cpp, student details imp.cpp, student type imp.cpp, etc. And to make compiling part easier for you, there is an option called as make file. Though I'll not be covering this in detail, but I have added references for you. So this is how I just compile my program. And to make sure that compiling part is easy, there is a process called creating make files. We use make files to make life easy when working with multiple programs. So a make file was already provided for you, and this is the make file. You can open it, see what was written there for you. So if you see that we want the executable name to be main.o, and we are creating objects here, object files, main.o, student details, imp.o, student type, imp.o, etc. And we want our compiler to be G++ compiler, and we want the compiler flags to be compiled in accordance with C++ standard 11. So, and these are the file dependencies. These files were already provided for you and they are implemented. You don't need to change anything. And your task is to, you have to write these files, implementation details.cpp. This is for the student details.h. And then you are supposed to write student type imp.cpp. This is for student type.h. And then you are supposed to write calculator imp.cpp. This is for calculator.h. And the last one is for file handler imp. This is for file handler.h. So you'll be writing four programs or program files. And the way we are compiling is, you can see them here. Um, so this is pretty much translates like G plus C plus plus standard 11 hyphen C student details dot C plus plus. So we are compiling every file individually, and then we are creating the corresponding objects. And there is also a command called make clean. This will remove the object files and it will create a new something like a new environment for you. So it will be easier for you to go ahead and play around with it. So this is pretty much how we go ahead and start compiling, and try to make all these part of a regular habit. Whenever you're writing programs, write a separate header file for the class definition and its own implementation file, and include the header guard so that it won't cause any trouble with multiple imports and so on. So that's all I have to say in this video. In case if you have any questions, please do let me know.